So today we're going to discuss or analyze the poem Macavity the Mystery Cat. We will be doing the poetic devices, right? We will be discussing what could be the underlying meaning of this poem, right? And yes, so we'll also discuss the rhyme scheme and other poetic devices, okay? Now, as we have discussed yesterday, Macavity is a poem about a mystery cat. Yes. And what is there so mysterious about this cat that everybody knows that it is quite possible that Macavity has done this mischief, that Macavity has done this crime, but no one has been able to catch Macavity, right? And here the poet gives a reference of these reputed agencies, right? He's talking about Scotland Yard, he's talking about the flying squad, and that means they are there very, you can say expert people here. Even they have not been able to catch hold of Macavity, right? What is the title which is given to Macavity? Please look at your books, please. Look at your books. What is the title that is given to Macavity? Let's quickly just go through the poem once again and then we'll come to the devices. Yes. Can you see the screen? Can you see the screen, all of you? The title is given Macavity also, but here it is. Look at the first line. Macavity's a mystery cat. He's called the hidden paw. What is it called? What is the cat called? The hidden paw, right? It's not seen. The paw, it seems, of course, like how it does the mischief, how it does all the, right? Of course, all that activities which are done, okay? Yes, so here it is that. So if we look at it, he is a master criminal, defy the law. He's gone against the law. How do we go against the law? When we break it, right? And how do we break the law? If you're not following the rules, if you're committing crime, if you are not a good citizen of the society, right? So yes, Macavity is like that. And who has he surprised? He is the bafflement of Scotland Yard, the flying squad's despair. I'm just hurriedly just going through it, right? And of course, here, look at what else is Macavity capable of doing. He's not only breaking the laws of society, it seems as if Macavity has defied the laws of science also, right? How? It's gone against the law of gravity. What is the law of gravity? What is it? Yes? What is the law of gravity? That, yes, like, of course, when things fall, they are attracted towards the earth. Yes, but here, how has Macavity defied the law? How has Macavity gone against the law? Because Macavity is able to levitate. Levitate means rise upwards, right? So it seems not even the fakirs can do that. Who is the fakir? Yes, so you have, like, you talk about your sadhu and sant, and they've, you know, like after meditation and after so much of concentration and all, they've been able to attain these powers. That's what we talk about. So Macavity, it seems as these kind of supernatural powers. You can't catch Macavity. It seems when the police reach there at the scene of crime, Macavity just disappears. It seems that Macavity has just flown out of the window or gone somewhere, right? Just disappeared into thin air, right? So yes, so you, wherever you look for Macavity, even in the basement, underground, even in the air, no, you can't find Macavity, and Macavity does not leave any sign at all, does not leave any trace at all, right? And of course, yeah, Macavity is a ginger cat. So we have the colors of the cats. You know, you have the gray cats, you have the black cats, you have this ginger color, that orangish red color of the cat. And of course, everybody knows what Macavity looks like. He's tall and thin, and eyes are very sunken, and yes, his brow is there with this thinking, you know, like, yes. And of course, he's quite smart, he's quite intelligent, right? So his head is domed. But of course, yes, is he there taking care of his appearance? No, he's not. His coat is dusty from neglect. Does not take care of his coat. Why? Because what do you think McCavity is always busy doing? Running away from the police, trying to hide, trying to disappear. And it seems as no, McCavity does not have time to groom itself, right? Yes. So his whiskers are uncombed and he sways his head from side to side with movements like a snake there, the charmer, right? And as the snake charmer moves, just like that, the snake also sways its head. And this is the appearance, this is about the habits of McCavity. And when you think he's half asleep, he's always wide awake. He can fool you so easily. Appears to be sleeping, but he is very, very alert. Okay. And what does he call McCavity? A fiend in feline shape. Fiend, devil, right? Someone very clever. Feline, belonging to the cat family, right? Okay. Canine, belonging to, yes, so like here, right, you have a feline, felis, right? So the cat family, right? So when you talk about dogs, we say canine, right? So here it is the cat family, and yes, so in the shape of a cat. So McCavity is a devil in the shape of a cat, a monster of depravity, does not have any moral values, can do anything. Because naturally a person is there going around committing so many crimes, is not bothered about, like being caught, and is always running away and committing more and more crimes. That person seems to have no moral values. You may meet him in a by street. You may see him in the square. You can see him around, right? You can see him in the narrow lanes. You can see him in the crowded areas, also in the prominent places. But where can you not find McCavity? Where is McCavity not found? At the scene of the crime. So McCavity is very, very clever. McCavity is like out of the clutches of the law, right? Now here we can also say, who has McCavity compared this, or the poet compared McCavity with? With criminals, with very smart criminals, people who break laws, people who cheat the authorities. Yes. So please note down, it could be that, yes, McCavity is there. He's just giving, a reference of this type. He's talking about the cat, but maybe, yes, it could be a metaphor for the criminals also, for the people who are so smart that they break all the laws, right? Now, let us analyze this poem. Let us do the poetic devices. Now, the first one which we are going to discuss is alliteration. Yes, can you tell me what is alliteration? What kind of literary device is alliteration? Alliteration is the repetition of a consonant sound. Please remember, please note down if you have to, what is alliteration? Alliteration is the repetition of a consonant sound, okay? And of course, like I say, I slip, slide, all this here. So, sir. Now, here, let us look at this poem. Can you find out lines where any sound has been repeated? Look at the first stanza. Let us do it one by one. Let us first identify alliteration devices, okay? Or the alliteration examples. First one, see, how will you identify it? When you speak those words, that sound is being repeated again and again, right? So, right, the repetition of the consonant sound. What are the consonant sounds apart from the vowels? right? Apart from your A, E, I, O, U or your E, A, O, right? Apart from that, all other sounds are the consonant sounds. So now look at this. First stanza, please tell me, can you identify an alliteration over here? Is it? I can't, he's a bafflement, a Scotland Yard, the flying squad's despair. That sound is there. But we are going to identify the words that are close to each other. Let's see the next one. There's no lie. He's broken every human law. He breaks the law of gravity, his powers of levitation. When you reach the sea, you may seek him. No, 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 he's not. It's not here. His brow is deeply lined with thought. His head is highly domed. Underline this, please. Head is highly domed. Okay. Yes. Head is highly domed. What is the sound that has been repeated here? What is the sound repeated here? Head, highly, which is a consonant sound. Her. Okay. Underline this, please. Write down alliteration. Write down. Are you writing? Are you writing? Yes. Give me a yes or no. Are you writing? Yes. Yeah. Very good. Okay. Now you know how to identify. Look at the next one. Look at this. He sways his head from side to side with movements like a snake. Right. Yes. Where is alliteration over here? Where is alliteration over here? Sways, side, side. Isn't it snake? Yeah. Very good. I think so you've been able to identify or not. What is the sound repeated here once again? Sir, sir. Sways, side, side, snake. Right? So we'll say that yes, so even if you write on side to side, sways side to side, yes, it's absolutely correct. This is an example of alliteration. Done. Let's move to the next stanza. Can anybody tell me where is the alliteration over here? Where is it? Where is it? Fiend in feline shape. Fiend in feline shape. Fur, sound. So what is it? Alliteration. Look at the next line also. You may meet him in a by street. You may see him in the square. Okay. Right? Okay. Is this clear? Were you able to identify it? Were you able to identify it? Yes, very good. Nice response from all of you. Right? So here we have fiend in feline sheep. May meet him in a by street. You may see him in the square. But what are we focusing on? Let's see in the consecutive words, in the successive words, that sound is repeated. Okay? Am I clear? Have you been able to identify? Yes. Okay. A big clap for yourselves now if you have been able to identify. So one thing we have done is alliteration. Let us move to the next one. Let us do repetition. What is repetition? Can anybody tell me what is repetition? Yes. Alliteration is repetition of a sound. Please note this down. Alliteration is repetition of a sound. What is repetition? Repetition is when a word is repeated. Okay? Yes. So what are we going to do? Shall we start from the last time and go back? Okay, no, let's do things in order. Let us start from the first stanza. Do we see any example of repetition here? Yes, very nice. When one word is repeated, that is repetition. When the sound is repeated, you call it alliteration. Look at the second stanza. McCavity, McCavity. There's no one like McCavity. Which word has been repeated? Which word has been repeated? Cavity has been repeated. So what is the device over here? Repetition. Yes, yes. Now, if I see that, right? Okay, again, where does this come? Where does this come? Macavity, macavity. There's no one like macavity, right? So I also see that here, it's not only the word that has been repeated, there is a line also that is repeated, right? Which line has been repeated in the poem? Can you tell me which line has been repeated? Macavity, macavity. There's no one like macavity. Yeah, good. Kritika's got the answer, I think so. Yes, good one, all of you. Now, yes, so where there is a word is repeated, what is that called? It is repetition. Okay. Now, please note something else. What is a refrain? Refrain would be the repetition of a line. Okay. So what have we discussed over here? Alliteration is repetition of a sound, repetition, a word, refrain, a line. Now, why do you think the poet repeats this line? Macavity, macavity. There's no one like macavity. Macavity is incomparable when you don't have someone like that person, right? Incomparable. So macavity, there's no one like macavity. So mysterious, so fast, so brave, so what you can say corrupt, not following any rules, regulations, right? So macavity, there's no one like macavity because the poet has been greatly affected or influenced by the behavior of macavity, right? That is why he's saying that there's no one like macavity. Clear? Am I clear now, students? Have you been able to identify these devices? Okay, right, fine. Yes, yes, side to side is repetition. Side to side is repetition. And yeah, where are you all? I can't. Yes, so just a minute. Okay. Right. So we'll have a look at, yes, Jasleen, are you looking at the book? Yes? Are you looking at the book? So if you're feeling sleepy, please don't attend the class. Right? If you're in the class, be attentive and sit smartly and nicely. I think so you all have a nice place there in your room where you can sit and attend the classes and be there. Right? Yeah, get active. Okay, so what have we discussed? We've discussed alliteration, we've discussed repetition, we've discussed refrain also. Any words that are repeated? Yes, we also have side to side, isn't it? Right? So of course, we've said it is alliteration. You can say because the word is being repeated, we'll call it repetition. Okay? Yes. Now let us come to next thing that is something very, very important. Right? Next is simile. Simile. What is simile? When one thing is compared with other, you think that one has the quality of the other, right? As soft as wool, right? As red as a rose, brave like a lion or fast as a horse, you know, like that way. So simile. And how do I identify simile? One hint is there, the use of as and like. So what are the things that you are going to remember for simile? What is it? Yes, for simile, please remember what is simile? Simile is a comparison. Okay, simile is a comparison, and we use the word as and like. Right. Now here, where can we find a simile in this poem? Where do we find a simile in this poem? I am showing you the paragraph, the lines. I'm showing you the stanza. Yes. Where can you find the simile here? Look at the second line. Look at the second line of the stanza or on this page. What is visible? He sways his head from side to side with movements like a snake. Who has been compared to a snake? Who has been compared? Very good, very good. Who has? Macavity has been compared. The way Macavity moves its head, right? Sways side to side like a snake, right? So what is it? Is Macavity a snake? No, Macavity is a cat. But what are Macavity's movements like? The movements are like a snake, right? So what is a simile? What is a simile? It's a comparison of two things, right? So we make, right, that, okay, one thing has been compared. A cat with a snake? How do you compare a cat with a snake? Yes, we can, because the way the cat moves the head from side to side, it looks like a snake. Just like a snake it does, the movements are similar. So movements like a snake, can you, identify it? Right? So if we have similar words in other poems, you would be able to identify. Okay, fine. Right. Next one, a little difficult. Next one, which I'm going to discuss, that is a metaphor. That is a metaphor. So now simile and what? Simile and metaphor are both comparisons. Simile is easily identified because of the use of words like and as. Metaphor, no, there are no words which will tell us, because when we talk about a metaphor, I assume one thing is like the other, right? He was a lion in the battle. He was not like a lion, he was, right? Okay, now here, there is in this same stanza, yes, there is. Okay. So when we do metaphor, it is an implied, hum maan lete, this is that, right? When he says simile, wo uske jaisa hai, right? Clear? Is this clear now? Right? I had to translate it for you all because this is where we do a lot of mistakes. And I know what is happening, right? Because you should not lose marks when you are not able to identify a simile or a metaphor. Now look at the last stanza. I'm giving you the hint. Yes, a fiend in feline shape. Could it be? Right? So he's been compared, a monster of depravity. Is he like a monster? Is he like what you can say, a devil? So we have very, very clear examples of metaphor. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with me? Depravity means someone who does not have any moral values, does not obey any rules, regulations, is not concerned about others. Now, how can we say that Macavity is a monster of depravity? Macavity there committing crimes, running away, disappearing, levitating into, rising above the ground, going into the basement, disappearing, no, right? So there does not have any moral values. So it is a monster of depravity. Yes. So can we identify it? Very nice. Now, quickly, this is your work to do. Look at this. Now, you know what is rhyme scheme? How do we find the rhyme scheme? Last word of the stanza. Now let us look at it. Let's just read it together. For, law, despair, there. And we give an alphabet. A, B, B. Correct? Similarly, you can do the other stanzas also. Will you be able to do the rhyme scheme? I want to see that you write the rhyme scheme in your book. Make sure you underline all the poetic devices. So what have we discussed today? That macavity is, do you think that macavity is like maybe symbolizing, or macavity is a metaphor for all the criminals, the way they behave, right? Why do you think the poet is there so, like amazed by the behavior of macavity? Right? Who is the poet of this poem? T.S. Eliot. A very popular poem, right? Okay. Yes. So any doubts, any questions? Will you be able to do this? Right? So if I ask you about the devices, if I ask you about the analysis, if I ask you about, like identifying all this, right? Rhyme scheme. Look at this now. Macavity, gravity, stare, there, air, there. So simple. Same, isn't it? Yes. Right. Let's see here. Thin, in, domed, combed, uncombed, sorry, snake, awake. Very clear rhyming scheme. How does the rhyme add to the beauty of the poem? How does the rhyme scheme add to the beauty of the poem? Yes. How does it add to it? Makes it more what? Very interesting and very nice to read. It makes it very like, yes, that music we feel has, right? Yeah, of course, yeah. So I think so we have discussed, yes, it makes it interesting. It makes it very appealing also. You like to read it. You enjoy reading it also. It gives that music to it, isn't it? Yes, correct. Yeah. So, and of course, when you